Barry, I took Bitcoin to logs, and one of my support levels is 7,000, down way below where we are right now. How do you explain to your clientele what support is on any given asset?
Well, it depends on the asset class. So when we're talking about bonds, it's yield relative to inflation and national growth rate. When we talk about equities, it's earnings and growth rate and a whole number of other factors. When we look at Bitcoin, and arguably you could make the argument, the same claim about any currency, it's just the collective delusion of what everybody agrees a currency is worth. And when I say delusion, I'm not dissing fiat currency or crypto. The fact that we can exchange little green pieces of paper with long dead presidents on it and get goods and services in exchange for it, can the crypto folks argue is also a collective delusion, albeit one backed by a standing military and a very, very robust legal enforcement mechanism to collect taxes. Crypto doesn't have that second part. And so while it certainly is a consensus sentiment trade and a momentum trade and a narrative trade, it lacks some of the teeth that traditional fiat currency has.
And this goes, Barry, to your writing, which is about how narratives have taken over the market. What's the Bitcoin narrative to Barry Ritholtz?
Well, the Bitcoin narrative is the great financial crisis led to a massive group of ill-advised government interventions. Since then, central banks around the world have been printing. I love the meme, printer goes brr. And therefore, all of these fiat currencies are going to become worthless. Your choice is either buy crypto and drive Lambos, or hold on to your fiat currency, which will soon be worthless. And P.S., as a public service, I like to tell people, send me all of your worthless U.S. fiat currency, and I promise to dispose of it properly.
Well, Barry, there's another narrative that actually has gained some steam among the hedge fund industry, among institutional investors, the likes of Troy Gajewski of Skybridge coming on and saying that it's actually the determining factor in your outperformance because it's a macro bet on the basically worthlessness, increasing worthlessness of fiat currency, but also the money printing that we've seen, the money printer go burr. And there's a question of whether there are forced sales or whether that narrative gets reversed when you start seeing Bitcoin have its worst two-day plunge since March of 2020. And when you start looking at levels that we saw 50% below the highs this year.
Right. So in the battle between China and Elon Musk, China is winning, at least when it comes to crypto. But, you know, here's the way I really think about Bitcoin and the rest of the blockchain universe, which is something complete. The technology is very different than the tradable asset. Bitcoin was about $1 trillion and change, smaller than Microsoft, Apple, bigger than Home Depot or Chase. And so it captures an immense amount of mind share. But if you think of this as a really successful company who's had a great run up in stock price, puts it in a little different context. I think there's been the fear of missing out on the next new thing. A lot of people plowed into this maybe a little late, and watching anything get cut in half is always painful if you're long and wrong, especially if you were anywhere near the top of that. But I don't think we would talk about Bitcoin the same way if we really thought of this as like an individual company. Now, lots of folks are forecasting Tesla going to 5,000 and Bitcoin going to 100,000. And there are all these crazy forecasts. And for the most part, those wild outliers don't work well for investors. But keep in mind, this has yet to come up with a solid use function. Hold aside, you know, kidnapping and ransomware and other illegalities. We're still waiting for the use case for this. There are lots of signs that blockchain is going to do some really interesting things, but it has yet, after 15 years, it has yet to really change the nature of our financial economy.